I'm Alex Morash, and let's queer up entertainment. Netflix CEO pushes back on trans agenda claim. Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos clashed with MAGA-aligned Senator Josh Hawley during a U.S. Senate hearing this week, after Hawley accused the streamer of pushing transgender ideology on children. Sarandos appeared before the Senate on Tuesday, February 3rd, to answer questions about Netflix's proposed merger with Warner Brothers. Instead, Hawley repeatedly focused on what he called Netflix's agenda to indoctrinate children. The Missouri Republican asked, quote, "Why is it that so much of Netflix content for children promotes a transgender ideology? Almost half of your content for children." I'm talking about minor children now. I'm not talking about teenagers. Minor children promotes a transgendered ideology agenda, end quote. Sarandos responded, "Respectfully, sir, it's because it's inaccurate." Hawley doubled down, asking if it is an advocacy position for Netflix. Sarandos firmly pushed back, declaring Netflix does not have any political agenda and parents can block titles they don't want their children to watch. According to the Daily Beast, Hawley cited a report from the Oversight Project, formerly tied to the Heritage Foundation, which helped develop Project 2025. Well, now, first off, I just want to thank Hawley for clarifying the difference between minor children and children, because I didn't know that a 40-year-old could call themselves a child, but apparently Hawley is a man-child and thinks these things. Now, as for Netflix, I agree. I don't think Netflix supports trans people one bit. Netflix is known for putting on transphobic comedians. They're become really bad at they don't put up LGBT content like they used to. And let's all remember, this is about a merger between them and Warner Brothers, which will serve one purpose: to make all of our subscriptions more expensive. This is about creating more monopoly. That is Netflix's real political agenda here.
But I just want to parse that. The Warner Brothers, Netflix trying to purchase Warner Brothers, it's just the least bad of our two options, because right now, and this is why this whole thing is happening, is because Larry Ellison, Oracle, the new owner of TikTok, fan of fascism and MAGA and all that, and he has been screwing with the algorithm on TikTok. We can barely see certain news items anymore. But
just to let you know, regulators could always reject both bids and say, "No, Warner Brothers, you're not allowed to merge," or something like that.
Well, no. But Larry Ellison's group and his son, who now owns Paramount, want to force the merger of Warner Brothers at White House.
With Paramount.
No, with Paramount, at the White House's urging, with the sole purpose of destroying CNN, because Trump doesn't like CNN. Trump wants to demolish CNN or turn it into a right-wing outlet, just like what Barry Weiss did at CBS News, and he wants more channels that reflect Republican conservative propaganda, which is why Hawley was dragged, which is why this hearing is called, which is why they are reading literal playbook from the Heritage Foundation, formerly
That's a wonderfully long story. That's the same point, whether Warner Brothers mergers with Netflix or with Paramount, whether Paramount, Netflix, and Warner Brothers have a threesome, it doesn't matter. Mergers of this kind are going to drive up prices for consumers.
Of course it is. Going to
all of these merger options are bad.
But that's just one side.
And the government's regulators can say no to both.
Yeah, except that the government regulators are not going to say no, because they are already in the because this administration is already has undue influence on regulators, or they get rid of regulators who don't agree with them. We are now fighting a war for the Federal Reserve, a traditionally very nonpartisan, very neutral
agency. Keep it one agency at a time. Most people don't even know what the Federal Reserve is. We'll teach you another night, kid. Google it. Any thoughts, Larry? Do you like anything on Netflix? Or do you like HBO Max or whatever Warner Brothers is calling itself?
Well, actually, no. I actually have not been an HBO subscriber in a while. I've thought about Netflix before this story. But one of the interesting things, too, is Netflix is building a new studio in New Jersey, which is a blue state from where I was native to. Mm-hmm. So it'll be interesting to see, once all this gets sorted out, how they kind of land. I like to think with the crash and burn of the Kennedy Center, which I refuse to call it what it's called.
Well, an act of Congress is needed to change its name.
Sure.
Same like the Department of Defense
But
can't
I
just
guess the
change
point
its
of what
name.
I'm saying is I like to think that Netflix will maybe be a little bit more balanced in terms of what they're presenting and not as right-wing as Hollywood.
And if we're going to loop back to the Kennedy Center, the John F. Kennedy Center.
We could do that on another story, Bobby. My
I just want to note that now that all the performers are no longer willing to perform there, they have abruptly shut it down and quote unquote for reconstruction.
Yes, we should do that as a separate news story. But the only other thing I'll say on this is the funniest weird take I've heard is that Netflix did this offer knowing regulators won't say yes to either, but it freezes Warner Brothers from doing anything to directly compete with Netflix for 2 years. That sink into your heads, kids.
Well,
and that is an LGBTQ nonprofit media. There is no other nonprofit queer media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBT stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight. We need some